Welcome back to Carolina Closings. This week, we are joined by Charlie Williams with Sotheby's International Real Estate, Charlotte native, born and raised in North Carolina. Been in real estate for 14 years, full time at this point, has sold over 300 houses in that time period, and recently had a great career milestone of eclipsing 100 million in sales in those 14 years. So, very experienced agent. Charlie Williams, good to have you. We're excited to hear about what you got to say.
Thanks for having me, Drew. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, man. So let's dive in here. Let's talk about Charlotte. What are you noticing just as some overall general trends in the Charlotte market as we're in Q4 here at 25?
It seems like the Charlotte market, it's still a good market. Honestly, both are buyers and sellers right now, but it seems like we've returned to more of a traditional market. So pre-COVID, where it's all about pricing, presentation, and having good marketing behind you versus during COVID, after COVID, you could just throw something up and you were going to have 10 offers. So it seems like we're back to a good normal market, which is a good place to be.
Great. How are you tackling that conversation? Let's start with sellers first, right? Coming off of that, well, I just put a sign in my yard and it would sell for over ask. And now we're, 6 or 7 years removed from pre-COVID. And a lot of people are either selling their house for the first time or it's been a while since they've done it. And they've seen friends have that like immediate satisfaction, right, of selling. So how are you setting the table for them for this market change that's occurred?
Yeah, well, luckily now it seemed like it really took a turn like Memorial Day, June, kind of the first part of summer. So in the beginning of that, sellers still had in their minds, what was happening before. So it's a much more difficult conversation. But now that it's been 6 months or so, there's been a lot of negative news about real estate in the press. So people are more understanding of where we are now as a market. So it makes it a little bit easier to have that conversation versus before. If you're interviewing multiple agents and I'm the one saying, you need to be aggressive on the price, you need to do this, you're not going to get the listing when you have 2 or 3 other agents saying, no, go really high, do this. So now I think sellers have a much better idea of like where we're at and what they need to do in order to sell.
Do you have a kind of general strategy you deploy in your seller consultations for, hey, does it make sense for us to maybe list a hair below market to drive interest and get more offers, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I like just outlining different scenarios for each seller where, I don't like to give a set price. I don't like to say your house is worth $2 million. Like I don't like doing that. I like giving ranges. And what I'm seeing, okay, if you want to sell quickly, let's go here. If you want to go on the higher end, go here. I would still take your listing at this number. Anything over that, I think we're just wasting our time. So it's more just kind of outlining different scenarios and figuring out, what are their needs and then trying to match that so we can have success.
Cool. Are you seeing homes, in your listings, for example, are you seeing those still sell in kind of the first month? Is that timeline being extended out now?
Yeah, I mean, like? It's literally pricing. So the market is still good. Like if you hit the first weekend and you're priced right, you're going to have 10 to 15 showings if you're priced right. If you're overpriced, you still may have 10 showings, but you're not going to have any offers at all. So it's all about just figuring that out of what is the correct number to go out with in order to get that return.
Got it. I've talked with several other people in the market, and how are you handling, some people say after 14 days, right? If we don't have an offer, we need to have a conversation. Is that your philosophy? Do you like to go shorter than that, longer than that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that's a good kind of starting point. I'd say 14 to 21 days. If you don't have anything, then it's time to reduce the price. I mean, back in the day before everything was so readily available online, that would be 30 days would be kind of, when I first started in real estate, you would say 30 days, drop the price. But now everything happens so quickly that after 14 days, everybody's already seen it before. So if you don't have any traction at that point, you can sit and wait and, hope you have a buyer that is entering the market that is okay paying that number. But if you need to get the ball rolling quicker, then it's time to do a price reduction at that point.
Got it. Let's pivot to the buyer side here a little bit. How are you prepping buyers as we're seeing, sellers adjust their expectations? Buyers are also now seem to have choices and a little bit of time to think.
Yeah, so buyers are in a good spot. But one thing I've seen is it basically, if you're priced right, you'll sell the first weekend. If you miss the mark, you'll sit forever. So with the buyer side, it's having the conversation of let's go out and look at everything that's out there. That way, you know, when one hits at whatever number you want, you're prepared. And then you can make an offer quickly because the good ones still sell quickly. So it's more just getting that experience with them, looking at everything that's out there, and then, you know, holding tight until, you know, you find the right one.
Cool. What's some of the concerns you're hearing from buyers while they're out there? Is it still interest rate concerns? Is it still affordability concerns?
Yeah, I would say more like affordability. Interest rates, luckily, we've kind of been at this number for, you know, around 6% now for over a year. So it just kind of is what it is. And you're not hearing buyers complain about that. The only way I'm hearing people complain about that is if they already own a home and then they're going to buy the next house, you know, losing that 2.5, 3% interest rate and then going to a 6, you know, that's difficult to swallow. But if you have kids or have a divorce or whatever, like you have to move. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing you can really do about it. So I think the initial shock of the interest rates is gone. So it's more just about the affordability of, you know, I bought my first house for $500,000 and now that same house is 850, a million. So if you're going to level up from there, then, you know, you're talking 1.5 and up if you're that buyer who bought that house. So it's more
Right.
just the shock of the expense of everything.
Are you noticing, are buyers, are there specific pockets or neighborhoods that buyers are really, really interested in right now around Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, it's still your kind of traditional spots. So, I mean, it really depends on the buyer and where you're looking, but yeah, Charlotte's kind of like an hourglass shape with uptown being the thinnest part of the hourglass. So you kind of have the triangle up, you know, up to the lake, that area, and then the triangle down, like down to Waxhaw. So anything in that corridor is still popular. And then if you go east or west, it just depends on the area at that point, just because they're a little more transitional. So it just depends on the buyer and their comfort level.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that range true with a lot of stuff we're seeing. Um, is there any like particular segment of the market that feels like stagnant right now from a price point perspective?
Yeah, this is super weird. So normally, traditionally, like the higher end market would go down first
Mhm.
and then the lower end market. But it's the inverse right now. So the higher end market is still on fire, but the lower end market is the one that's a little more stagnant. Yeah, I think it's just basically due to the cost of living. You know,
Yeah.
if you're buying a lower end house, you don't have as much money. You're getting squeezed on the cost of everything that it costs to live now. Versus if you have more money, then it doesn't really affect you that much. So you're still able to afford it. So I'm really seeing kind of the lower end sit and the higher end still is fire.
On the higher end, how much of that would you say is influx into Charlotte from higher cost of living areas versus Charlotte natives kind of trading up and moving up?
I mean, it's a combo of both. You know, years ago, Charlotte, it was between 2000 and 2010. Charlotte had the most millennials moving to the city than any other city in the country. So now those millennials are having families and moving up. So it's a combo of those people getting bigger homes and then a combo of people moving here from the north and the west and going, oh, this is 1.5 million. Great. That's a condo. So, they have a different perspective than from Charlotte.
The two conversations are so funny. You know, when we talk to someone relocating and they're like, I can get this for $1 million, and you're like, man, you're excited about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. You know, everybody, you know, and I have buyers that are like, I want to live close to whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, what is close to you? Because close to you could be, you know, an hour versus close to me is 10 minutes. So it's just figuring out whatever their mindset is and what they're used to.
All right, I want to talk about you have a beautiful old historic home that you've done a lot of fun projects to over the years. Talk to us about your kind of affinity for that historic home market and how you think your home in particular has helped prepare you for talking about those with buyers.
Yeah, so it was built in 1890, and it was in pretty rough shape when we had it. I mean, some small updates were done, but it sat vacant for a year prior to us purchasing it. And before that, a family had lived in it, but prior to that, it was a rental for 15, 20 years, something like that. So it had been through some experiences. But yeah, we fixed up the house over 6, 7 years, got it featured in Southern Living magazine, which my wife was super pumped about. That was a milestone for her. But I think how it prepared me is I really understand construction now after doing a lot of the work myself and digging into it, and having an older home, like nothing really scares you anymore because you never know what you're going to find when you open up those walls and deal with knob and tube wiring and whatever you want to get into. So it really helped me better understand construction, which helps me with buyers and sellers understand what really goes into a house. And then I can also point out issues that I could see versus if you've always lived in new construction, you don't really understand the nuts and bolts of a house because nothing really ever happens. So
Yeah.
it definitely helped me be a better realtor by renovating that throughout the years, for sure.
So do you feel like you can walk into homes now and you can see something and just be like, that's an issue?
Correct.
That's something we need to worry about.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And you can see, like, after going in enough homes, like you can see, okay, this is built in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. And then you understand these are going to be the common issues with that type of home, and what, like polybutylene piping used in the 80s, like you're going to see that there, but that's not going to be in a late 1990s house. You're not going to have to worry about that. So it's just kind of understanding the nuances of the different years that all the homes are built, and then preparing the buyer for that.
All right, you mentioned your wife Molly. Great accomplishment getting featured in Southern Living. Tell the people what she does, how you all partner together, and when you're helping people buy and sell real estate too.
Yeah, so she owned her own staging company, which we just stopped doing that so she could focus on styling homes. But through the years, we staged over 60 properties together. So we would come in and include that in the commission and stage your house and get it ready to sell. But now we just work with professional stagers that do just as good a job as she did, and still offer that as a service to clients. But now she's just doing styling for photo shoots. So like for Southern Living, they would have a photographer come and shoot the photos, but you also have a stylist who individually styles each picture for the shot. So she just had a job. She worked with someone, they got it featured in the Wall Street Journal. It was for a condo in Chapel Hill. So she's focusing on doing that now. But whenever we work with sellers, I'll still bring her in with me, and she can help like use the furniture that they have and like pare things down. Or we still have a warehouse, full of furniture, so we can still bring in pieces to kind of complement it. But yeah, that's where I lean on her. Whenever I go on the listing appointment, I ask if I can take pictures, and then bring them back to her, and then show them to her, and then she'll help me out, and then bring her over to the house. If we get the listing, to help the seller get the house ready.
Awesome. Well, and as you mentioned kind of at the beginning of our conversation, today's market, the pricing is obviously important, but the presentation and how the house is actually perceived when someone walks through the front door is a huge deal right now.
Exactly. I always tell every seller it's all about price, presentation, and pictures. So if you can nail those 3 P's, then you're good to go. If you miss one of those P's, then you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be mad at me, but it's not my fault.
Well, let's dive into your business a little bit, Charlie. Like, how do you define great service when you're working with either a buyer or a seller?
Yeah, I mean, like the Sotheby's line is, white glove service. And I think that's truly what it is. So you have my cell phone, you can call me anytime. I was talking to our assistant about that today. I was like, I think I literally work like 120 hours a week. If you actually break it down, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting at my front of my computer for that long, but first thing when I wake up, check emails and texts throughout the whole day. Last thing I do before I go to bed, emails and texts. So it's just having that accessibility to me, where other agents that are successful might be on teams and you get passed on to other people. you get me. So you can always reach me at any point. And I think just having Molly, on my side to help me out with the styling side of things, I think that differentiates me from other people as well. But it's really just being, me relying on my experience, and then, having those assets along with me is how it can be different than other agents.
Fantastic. Now, if we put pick your favorite client you've ever worked with, and you got to brag on yourself, what would they say about their experience working with Charlie?
I would say he knows what he's doing.
Important.
Yeah, exactly. Very responsive. I'm very good at maintaining like a level head. Some other agents I work with really get emotionally involved in the deal and can blow up the deal versus just keeping it, straight to the facts and presenting that to the other agents. I'm good with managing emotions with the buyers and sellers and going through that roller coaster. You work with some people that own the house for 35 years. I even had one in downtown Belmont where it was a Lineberger house, and it was built in 1905, and it had been in their family since 1905. And so, dealing with those emotions. And same thing with one I had in Concord called Ritchie Hill. That was in the Ritchie family from when they built it, and that was built in 1910. So yeah, it's just maintaining those emotions and helping everybody get through that together.
I think that's so important. I think, it's one thing, and it feels like from friends that we both know in commercial real estate, it's facts and figures, right? Like numbers drive the decisions, and
Exactly.
on the residential side, it's numbers and figures matter, but there's a lot more emotions that go into that because people have spent their lives in these homes. So helping people balance those out is really important, because heck, I've seen exactly what you're talking about of people cussing each other out. I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Like, everybody take a deep breath.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we're all trying to do the same thing here. Like, they want to buy, you want to sell, let's just get to the finish line.
So we talked about your background on doing your house and doing some construction, your understanding. How do you go about when a house does need work? You get an inspection done. How do you go about determining like a good referral for that buyer or that seller that needs to fix something up?
Yeah, so that's one thing that thanks for asking that. So that's one thing I do with buyers and sellers. So if your house does need work and you do need to do these things to get it ready, I have tons of contacts just by being in the business for that long. So I can manage that process for you, take you through it, get everything ready to sell, basically. So yeah, it's just about having those contacts and then present the options to the seller. Not everybody has the money to be able to do that up front. Not everybody has the time to or the energy to think about it, especially if you're living there. So it's just presenting options to them. But if you can fix up your house and get it styled and staged, you're going to sell for more than what you would if you didn't. So it's just about having that conversation and seeing if they have the ability to do that.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Now, the people that you recommend, is this vetting that you and Molly have done on personal work, or is this referrals from just previous jobs that you've seen their work on? How do you go about like actually connecting with those people?
Yeah, so it's just kind of built throughout the years of people that I worked with. So I just have a database of people that I can pull from to call. And then I'm also a member of the Business Leaders of Charlotte. So I've been a member with them for over 10 years now. So it's all different types of people in all different types of businesses. So a lot of them are in the real estate world. So I have those people as well to pull from. And that group's all about maintaining relationships. So it's very relationship driven and not just, hey, give me a referral and pass referrals. So I know anybody that I send from there over to a buyer or seller, like they're going to do a good job because they want to maintain the relationship. So that's been a really good resource too.
Awesome. That's fantastic. When did you get involved with that?
It was probably 2013, 2014. Yeah, something like that. Because I was still at my townhome Realty then, and I left my townhome to go to Sotheby's in 2015. So yeah, it was probably 2013 or 14.
Cool. So it's just primarily mostly small business owners that are meeting together, or large
Yeah,
Fortune
that's
500
fair.
as well.
Yeah, so there's four different chapters. So you have the Uptown chapter, North chapter, South chapter, and then Flock, which is a future leaders of Charlotte. So if you're under 35, you can be in that group. But each chapter is industry specific. So there's I'm in Uptown. So there's one realtor in Uptown, one realtor in South, one in North, and then
Got
one
it.
mortgage person South, one mortgage person in Uptown. So it's industry specific per chapter, but each chapter we all meet, and there's one tonight. It's called the After Hours, where we go to like a local bar basically, and all the chapters meet up. So I get to talk to the other realtors, see how it's going with them too. So it's just a good group to kind of bounce ideas off and pull from.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Um, when you think about you obviously have a ton of experience, right? It's sold over 300 homes, over 100 million in production, right? How do you go about continually refining your process, from deal to deal to deal?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm in a new world now because I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. So that was not culture shock. Whatever I'm looking for there. That was
Life shock.
yeah. So figuring out, how to balance being a dad and work and, being there for my wife, that I finally I'm in a good groove now. So yeah, I mean, it's just talking to past clients, figuring out, if they had any issues with me, like what could I do to improve? I mean, luckily nobody's been vocal about that, but I just try to reflect on whatever I've done previously and then look back on that and then learn from that. Like one thing I learned years ago, when you're showing a buyer, don't give your opinion on the style or flow of the house or anything like that unless they ask. Because there's been times where I'm like, that is hideous. And they're like, I actually kind of like it. I'm like, oh, well, never going to say that again.
I was going to say, I think I saw a little like horror story playing out in your brain.
Yeah,
as you were
exactly.
saying that.
Yep. So, it's more about just each deal, you kind of learn a little bit from it and then just taking that forward and learning how to improve.
Right. So 14 years in, you've mentioned past clients several times. How do you continue to take care of your clients after they buy or sell a house with you?
Yeah, so that's one thing I'm starting to focus more on. I used to be really good at that before kids. So before kids, I was really good at maintaining those relationships, going out to lunch, going out for beers, whatever, to maintain that relationship. And then once I had kids, it was kind of just maintaining the business coming in versus like being more proactive about it. So I'm getting back into that now that my oldest is in kindergarten. Youngest is in preschool, so now I'm able to spend a little bit more time on that, getting back to that, getting in front of them. Like I used to have client appreciation events where I give away leaf blowers and anything home related. So I'll get back into that now that life is kind of balanced out a little bit.
Yeah, you're laying the blueprint for me, man. Like I'm right in this whirlwind with a 2-year-old, and I'm like, does it slow down? Does it slow down at all? Like,
maybe you just get used to it. Yeah, it feels like it's slowed down. You can control a little more. But yeah, I mean, when they're 4 and under, it's kind of just wild, wild west out there.
one day at a time, baby. One day
Yeah,
at a
exactly.
time. So, with your previous production, like is a big portion of that repeat clients that you've had? Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, literally pretty much all of it. Like I'm starting to get back into mailers. I used to do that back in the day, but I mean, and through the networking group, get referrals through there, but it's pretty much all referral driven. Every once in a while I'll get leads through Sotheby's. They'll come into the office and then, oh, Charlie would be a good fit for you. But I would say probably 90% of my business is just referral based or people I know.
Yeah.
That is definitely one opportunity I have to go even larger, is exploring that.
Yeah. Do you have desire to scale out from what you currently do, or you got a nice balance in your life at the moment?
Yeah, I don't want to own a real estate brokerage. I don't want to manage other agents. I mean, I would be like a mentor to other agents, and have them bounce off of me, but I don't be responsible for other agents, because we're wild. So
You don't want your job to turn into keeping them out of jail, right?
yeah, exactly. In terms of, I mean, you could always obviously have more business, and I could hire agents underneath me to, show property and whatnot, which, I do have other agents that show property for me if I'm out of town, or
Sure.
if I can't do it for some reason. But yeah, I would say that's probably as big as I would want to go. I mean, Sotheby's is an awesome brand. I don't know if I started Charlie Williams Realty, how am I going to compete for your $3 million listing if I'm going up against Christie's and Sotheby's and Compass? Like, doesn't make any sense. So like, I'm happy here leveraging the luxury brand and doing that. So yeah, I don't see any Charlie Williams Realty in my future.
That's a really interesting perspective, Charlie, because like a lot of people I feel like will say, oh, the brand I work for doesn't matter, they're hiring me.
Yeah, I think it's different in the higher end for sure.
Yeah.
People are comfortable with brands,
Yeah.
just when you buy your clothes or whatever brand you go to Tiffany's, like you want a Tiffany's diamond. Like people are comfortable with brands. And so if you're able to leverage that, then I see the benefit there. But if you're looking strictly at how much commission are they taking from me each paycheck and not focusing on anything else, then I could see how you would go, okay, I need to leave and go do my own thing. But I see a benefit. I get listings because I'm with Sotheby's. I get referrals because I'm with Sotheby's. So I see the value in that versus, if I'm just myself, why would I work with him other than he's good?
Yeah.
But I'm good and with a luxury brand. So like, I mean,
double them up. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a really cool perspective. No one shared anything like that so far on the conversations I've had. So I appreciate you bringing that to light and challenging the norm a little bit there.
Yeah, good.
All right, let's end with a couple, 2 or 3 goofy rapid fire questions here, and then we'll have you share your contact information and get you out of here. So, date night spot, you and Molly, no kids. Where are we going?
We live in downtown Concord, like in the historic, or right outside the historic district there. So my wife loves Kindred over in Davidson. So you just shoot across 73, a nice little country drive, watch the sunset as you're driving over there, eat Kindred, shoot back home. I would say that's probably our go-to date night spot. If we can find somebody to watch the kids, anybody watching that wants to watch kids, like, call me. So we can have more date nights.
He pays $25 an hour.
Yeah, what? I don't care. I don't just give me a date night.
All right. I asked this question to everybody, and now we're a little deeper in the season, so you got an advantage. Do the Carolina Panthers make the playoffs this year?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure people's answers have changed. I thought there was no hope for a while. Do we make the playoffs? I mean, it would be a miracle, I guess, I would say. I'm gonna go yes, because I have always been a Panthers fan. I'm a season ticket holder. You gotta have hope.
Congratulations, you're the first yes, Charlie. Well, welcome. And then hey, anything outside of real estate, right? You get a little time to yourself. What's Charlie gonna go do?
So I'm a huge racing fan. So growing up here, my dad and I basically joined Cub Scouts because of racing. So they came to our elementary school. I was in first grade, and they're like, if you join Scouts, you get to go to the Saturday race for free. And I was like, sign me up. So I ended up making it to Eagle Scout. But my brother and I used to have go-karts that we would race and keep up in Mooresville. So we still have a friend group that we'll take up there like once a month to go race. I love going to dirt track races, NASCAR races, just anything with a motor. Sign me up, I'm in. And I also love golf. So those are my 2 kind of passions.
There you go. One quiet and peaceful, and one as loud as you can get it.
Exactly. That's my life.
Well, Charlie, enjoyed it. Thanks for spending time. For anyone who wants to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I have a website, williamspropertycollective.com. My cell phone, 704-737-7741. Or if you just Google my name, Charlie Williams Sotheby's, one of those options will pop up for you.
In fact, both of them will, because I did it earlier.
Nice.
So, so thanks. Thanks again, Charlie. Enjoyed it, man. And we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Thanks again, Drew. Good talking to you.